To my dear family, when my earthly life has ended, these are some things I want you to know and remember about me. I am not a Lincoln or a Valentine, but was born on Friday the 13th, 1925, at St. Joseph's Hospital, New Hampton, Iowa. I was baptized Geneva Grace in St. Joseph Hospital on February 23rd by Father Zion. My parents, Carl Andrew White and Lorinda Ann Bergen, were very happy to have a firstborn daughter. My parents were married on November 24th, 1920, at St. Mary's Catholic Church in New Hampton. I remember Mother telling me that Dad said, after a fella has been overseas in the service, he'll never want to leave home again. In Mother and Dad's early married years, they lived in a small house next to the livery stable, horse barn in Alta Vista. Grandpa Charles, Dad's father, built what later became known as the White House for him and Grandma Marie Grace. It was across the street from the livery stable on the main street of Alta Vista. They moved in from the farm to a new house. I didn't know my grandmother Minnie because she died in 1913 at age 47 and was buried in Worthington, Iowa. She was an oil painter. Two of her restored and framed oil paintings are hanging in my evergreen apartment. Grandpa Charles managed the livery stable and gave rides to people on the horse and buggy. He was diabetic and gave himself insulin every day. After Grandma Minnie's death, Mother and Dad moved in with Grandpa Charles and Dad's two brothers, Uncle Charles and Uncle Jerome, to help care for them. Grandpa Charles loved to play cards in downtown Alta Vista. With the winnings, he bought crates of peaches for the family. Our family Christmas crib was made by my dad from one of those peach crates. It's the same crib I use this day. Mother's parents, Peter and Catherine Bergen, lived in New Hampton. Grandpa Bergen had a horse barn and raised horses. We went to their house for Sunday dinner to visit them and aunts and uncles, Mike, Leo, Mary, and Martina. The beautiful red glass picture on my curio cabinet at Evergreen is etched with my maternal grandmother's name. My dad, Carl, earned a living as secretary of the Alta Vista Creamery for 28 years. I helped him with adding cream checks in my head, of course. Dad also farmed with my grandfather. Mother was a domestic engineer in our home. She cooked 3 meals a day for all these men and did all the cleaning and laundry. I dressed the beds, fed grass to the chickens, and helped Mother with the wash, cooking, and cleaning. My brother Roland was born September 6, 1933 in New Hampton. Because we were 8 years apart, I called him my kid brother. Roland later married Pearl Fink, such a loving sister-in-law. Pearl and Roland had 3 beautiful children, Lori, Linda, and Tom. Roland died in 2013, a couple months before his 80th birthday. I met my husband-to-be, Paul Kolbet, at St. William's Catholic School in Alta Vista. Paul was 8 years older than I, but he had dropped out of school to do farm work for hire. His mother convinced him to go back to high school, so that's where we became classmates. Paul went on to college at Iowa State, studying dairy industry. He also served in the U.S. Army during World War II prior to graduating from college. My first impression of Paul was that he was a handsome guy. Our first date was on March 2nd. We went to the movie, Comrade X in New Hampton. He called me 2 weeks after that first date. I could never figure out why he waited so long to call me again. On St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, we went to another movie for our second date. Paul proposed to me at Christmas time in 1943 while we were sitting on the couch in the White House, my family home. Paul and I were married on May 24th, 1944 at St. Bernard's Catholic Church in Alta Vista by Reverend Joseph Wheel. I wore a white wedding dress and veil and felt happy and thankful for everything my family did for me. I was 19 and Paul was 27. After our wedding mass, we were taken by horse and wagon to to the Alta Vista sewage plant, as a joke, of course. Mother and Dad hosted our wedding dinner in the living room of our family home. Guests were our parents, brothers, and sisters. Our wedding dance was in the municipal hall just up the street. For our honeymoon, we took the train to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field in Chicago. That's why it was so fun to return to Wrigley Field 60 years later to celebrate our anniversary with all of you. Our first home was 106 Stanton Street in Ames. On weekends, Paul played baseball and I watched his games. On occasion, we would drive to Alta Vista for dinner with our folks. As a new wife, I felt so happy and in love. Some of the things I appreciated most about Paul were how he cared for me and worked hard to support us with low wages. Paul graduated from Iowa State. We moved from Cresco, where he was employed as manager of the Farmers Cooperative Creamery. He moved on Labor Day weekend, 1944, and lived in the Cresco Hotel for a while because I had the mumps and couldn't come with him. When I was able to come to Cresco, Paul had found a room to rent at the east end of town. Later, we rented a house for $25 a month from a woman who had traveled west for the winter. When she decided to move permanently, she offered to sell the house to us, furnished and with the lot, for $2,500. It was the corner of 4th Avenue and 3rd Street, Lot 1, Block 1 in Cresco. Except for the time when our new house was being built, we lived at the same site for 61 years. Whoops, excuse me. Our first child, Catherine Ann, was born on November 5th, 1947. Paul was standing in the bathroom shaving when I told him I was pregnant and that the doctor thought I could be carrying twins. He almost cut his neck. Joyce Marie on April 6, 1954. Philip John came into the world 8 years later on August 22, 1962. By this time, we had moved our original house off the lot and built a new house on the same property. So at this time in our married life, we had 4 beautiful children and a brand new house. Paul had left his job at the creamery. After receiving his securities license in 1959, he sold investment securities, promoted and built the Cresco pellet plant, later sold to Cargill. Then joined J.E. O'Donnell on the real estate business, which continued as Paul Kolbet Real Estate until we left Cresco. We had 61 wonderful years together in Cresco. We were members of St. Joseph Catholic Parish. All our children were educated in the Catholic school. Paul and I were life members of the Cresco Country Club, enjoying weekly golf league and men's and ladies' nights out. We also enjoyed bowling. I also said, Paul beat me in golf, and I beat him in bowling. For years, I played on the bowling league and earned several trophies. Both of us loved playing cards our entire life, mostly bridge, 500, and euchre. While in Cresco, I took bridge license, then played in a card club every week. To this day, I play in a 500 club every Monday at Evergreen, and wherever else I played, and wherever else I'm invited to play. At this time in my life, I find it relaxing and fun doing my word search puzzles, watching ball games, and being with my family. When you remember me, think of all the fun we had when we were together, like playing Yahtzee, cards, and singing Christmas carols with all the instruments. I want you to think of me as a woman of strong faith, one who prayed for you every single day. Each morning I prayed my rosary in my recliner, offering a decade of my heads for each family, mentioning every one of you by name. Kay and Michael, Michelle, Andy, Joey, Jackson, Abraham, Anderson, Maddox, Kathleen, Derek, Hunter, Joyce, Kevin, Janine, Karen, Kyle, Carissa, Kinsley, Phil, Linda, Brady, and JC. I want you to know how proud I am of each of you. My life has been very happy and full in my aging years without my Paul. You have taken care of my medications and other health needs, my personal belongings, groceries, entertainment, living arrangements, laundry, food for evenings and weekends, shopping for shoes and clothes, not to mention your phone calls and visits. I am thankful to God and the Blessed Mother for all my blessings, and to you, the fruits of my womb, my wonderful family. Please love and care for each other and never let anything come between you. This is what Paul and I prayed for each day. My love always.